Hello everybody, this is Joseph Propati, and today I'm going to be going over my game, Tournament Joust. This is a print and play game that you can find on Board Game Geek. It's freely downloadable. Hopefully you will go and check it out and download the files. And Tournament Joust is jousting in the Middle Ages. It's a game where you can either play 2-player or you can play up to 8 players. And I'll just read off this one little section. Tournament Joust is a 2 to 8 player game depicting knights jousting in a tournament during the Middle Ages. The game can be played as a 2-player single match or an all-day event with multiple knights competing against one another for the title of tournament champion. This game is strictly jousting. It covers the realism and just the overall effects of what it would be like to tilt against another person in game form. So I've done a lot of research, done a lot of reading, and try to put all the different aspects of what it is to joust, where you're riding your horse. There's speed, there's distance, there's impact and stability, there's location of the lance tip, movement of the lance. You know, you having an aiming point, specific locations like the crest, the helm, and the shield. Reacting to your opponent's lance at the last second. Random movement of the lance tip when you're moving too fast and you lose a little bit of control. I've tried to put all these things in there and try to make it fun, but as realistic as possible to feel like you're actually jousting in a tournament. So in this video today, I'm going to cover the game, the components, the setup, and then cover the rules. And in a follow-up video, I'll do a full match, which is a match is 3 runs in the list. So let's go over the components. So we have the rule book, and the way I've laid the rule book out, you have explains the components. It explains the map board. You know, it gives a detailed description of the cards, and then it goes through a sequence of play. I mean, you can follow this sequence of play right out of the rules. It covers lance tip contact, and then the results of that contact. And each page is a specific aim location that you can follow. And then based on your scores of your impact and stability will determine, you know, what your results are. And then you have a bracket if you have more than 2 knights. And then the component itself, you know, we'll talk about the game board. Everything is done on this game board. You have your list, you have your movement on the list, you have your lance tip location chart. Here's all your movement turns that are tracked, your knight reaction card, here's your aim location, and then you have your tracked values, how many broken lances, stability, impact, and then your total score for the match to see who wins. And then random lance movement. So you'll keep track of everything on the game board. It only uses 1 die, and that's just for the random movement, the lance tip movement. Everything else is card driven. You will, just so you know, that this game board, it has, the one you'll download has just a very small change, and one is it's the broken lances and the impact, so stability. I changed this to +3 because there's only 3 runs in a match. You can only break 3 lances. So I removed 4, 5, and 6. And then this -3 on these, you can't go lower than -2. So I removed that off. But everything else is the same. Nothing else has changed. So that has been updated in that file you can download. So we have, like I said, everything is going to be done on the map board or the game board. Then you have your counters. You will need 4 red cubes and 4 blue, because the players are represented by a blue player and a red player. You can use a black, green, whatever you want, another red or another blue. This will be your lance tip locator, and that will be tracked on your lance tip chart. Again, you'll need either 1 or 2 D8s, so you can both use a D8. Now I have these really cool meeple from the Joust game, but if you can find them, they're perfect. They fit perfect. But you can use large meeple, larger, you know, millimeter cubes. Those also work great. Just something that can keep track of movement as you're moving down the list. So these also work great. And then we get into the cards. Oh, also one of the PDFs that you can download is there's one that has the 8 different colored knights. So you can cut these out. These are also usable. You just cut it, bend it, glue it, and then you have another Joust figure. So these are also downloadable. So you have that. Again, though, I love using these. These are great. So you need your knight jousting figure. And then you have your cards, and there's 3 sets of cards. The first we'll talk about is movement cards, okay? There's a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. Now the movement cards, they represent speed and distance. So it's kind of 2 factors on these. You know, you have walk, trot, canter, and gallop. And this is your horse as you're moving, building up speed down the list. You have a total of 8 cards in your deck, but you will be making a hand out of those 8 cards, and you'll be making a hand with 6 of them. So these are your horse movement cards, 8 of those. Then you have your aim location cards. Now there's 6 of these. In jousting, you're only concerned with the crest, the helm, and the shield. Anything else is a miss, or it's a glancing blow. Those are not locations. You're not trying to go off the chest or off the leg. Those are the 3 points that cause either knocking the crest off or unhorsing your opponent. That's the ultimate goal. So in these 6 cards, you'll have 2 per each one of those zones. So you'll have an upper and lower for the helm. You'll have an upper and lower for the crest. And then you'll have a center and outer shield location. These aim location cards are what you're going to decide each time you do a run. And again, there's 3 in a match. You will pick one of these secretly and you'll place it down on the game board. And that is the point where you are going to try and hit your lance tip. The whole run through, you're going to be trying to aim your tip to that location. And if you get to that location, there is a bonus for that. So that's your aim location cards. And then last we have our knight reaction cards. There's 7 of these. And these are used for that last physical reaction before you get hit with your opponent's lance. So as that lance tip is coming towards you, you're not only focusing on where you're aiming, but you're trying to avoid your opponent hitting you in one of those 3 main zones, helm, crest, and shield. So as you get to that very last stage, you're going to decide last second which way you want to react. You could be, and it'll be based too of where you think your opponent is going to be hitting you. So if you think he's going to the shield, you might do a low shield, or you might do a shield high. If he's going for your crest, you might say lean right or lower the helm. So these reactions are what you're going to do to just try and get that last physical move to prevent him from either knocking your crest off or unhorsing you. Okay? And then, again, we have all the opponent's cards. And your opponent and red player and blue player both have the exact same components. So same amount of cards, same components, same dice. So all that is equal. They're just blue and red. And that's it. Those are the components. Like I said, you can print everything, but you just need to add a couple more. Things lying around, that's not a problem. So that's the components for Tournament Joust. So let's talk about setup. Okay, let's talk about setup. So we'll set up the game for Tournament Joust. So first, you're going to set up your knights, your knight figures, right? If you're the red player will always start on the side of the list towards you and then on the left. The blue player will be over here on his left, and you'll be moving left to right. Because the lances, when they come across the tilt. That's across that barrier. Tilting. So we've set up our figures, and you want to put it on that very first line and just put it right up to it. These lines are what you're going to be using, these spaces, to track your movement. So these, you'll be counting these off based on your movement cards. And then I'll get more information later when you get down to the center and you make contact. Next, we're going to set up our cubes, and you'll see these red spaces and blue spaces. Those are the 0 points. So at the beginning of each match, you'll have 0 for everything. But as you go through your 3 runs, you'll be keeping track of score and broken lances. The only one that will reset on each run will be your impact and stability. Let's see, so we go through, we have our blue player. So now we have those zeroed out. And then we want to pick our aim location. And this is something that's secret. So what you'll do is you'll look at your 6 cards and you'll determine, okay, what do I want to aim for? Do I want to go for a solid shield hit? Do I want to knock the crest off? Because where you determine your lance location is how it will affect the match. You can't unhorse with a crest hit. You can only knock the crest off. To unhorse, you need to aim for the helm or the shield. So there's something there that you might decide, well, I want to try and horse. Because if you unhorse, you get more points. It's 10 points to unhorse somebody as opposed to 5 for knocking the crest off. So let's say we'll go and we'll secretly say we're going to do an upper helm, right? So we would place that face down. And then you'd put these other cards off to the side. And then this player would do the same thing. Blue player would go pick their aim location, and let's say they were going to go for the outer shield, which you can still do an unhorsing with. And then you put that face down. Don't let your opponent know, and then you put those off to the side. Then we need to make our horse movement deck, or the hand out of the horse movement deck. And what you want to do is you want to take the number 2 and the number 3 cards out, and then you want to shuffle these. So you shuffle these other 6 cards up. And you will deal out 4. Face down, don't let your opponent see them. He's going to be doing the same thing, and you put those other 2 off the side. He will do the same thing. He will take out his 2 and 3, right? And then he will shuffle his together, and he will deal 4 face down without you seeing. Now you'll take all those cards, all right? And then I will explain how movement works in a minute. And then the last is your knight reaction cards. Not last, but your knight reaction cards. Just be aware that when you get to this 4th movement stage, you're going to be using one of these. Now this will change in your mind as you're watching the location of your opponent's lance tip. It might start going towards the helm, and you might go, I need to lean left or raise my helm. Or it might go to the crest or the shield. So that you just keep in mind. You could just keep these off to the side until you get to that move. And then we want to do, since we've chosen our aim location, you have these 3 yellow start hexes. And that's where your lance tip is going to start. So say I was going for, and this one, the upper helm, I'd probably want to start up high. If I was going for the shield, I'd probably want to start here to get that track. So I could start here, and if he's going for the outer shield, he would probably start down here. The white is for the advanced rules, and that's not in this document right now. It'll be for later revisions. But just think about these yellow hex locations, and you place your black lance tip token, and that'll go there. All right, you can set your D8 off to the side, and we are now ready to go. So this is the setup for a match. Now, you will go through 3 runs, right? Unless someone is unhorsed or someone gets their crest knocked off. And again, the only things that for the start of each run, Your impact and your stability will reset, but you don't reset your broken lances or your score, because that you will keep track of the whole match, and then the one with the highest score, if no one gets unhorsed or gets crest knocked off, they will be the winner, considered the winner based on points. So we're ready to start. This is the setup for Tournament Joust. And then what we'll do is I'm going to go into the rules about how things move, how you're going to do each turn, and explain the game. Okay, so now that we have everything set up and we're ready to start a match, let's go over all the rules. So the first thing that you need to know about Joust is it's based on phases and turns. So each run has numerous phases in it, and there will be, or each turn has multiple phases. So you'll have 3 runs, so basically 3 turns, and then multiple phases to go through those turns. To start a jousting match, you have everything zeroed out, and you want to set up how you want to start speed-wise, and that's based on your movement cards. Now, one of the rules for jousting is if you have a 1 in your hand, right? You could either have one of these or one of the 4s. You could have them both, but if you have a 1 in your hand, you must start your joust with a 1. Okay? If you don't, you can start with a 2. That's the only time you can start with a 2, as long as you don't have a 1. But if you do have this 1, you must start with this. Okay? Now, I don't have a 1 on the 6 cards that I drew, so I would start with a 2. And then on the opponent, if he had a 1, which he does, well, let's get rid of those 2. If he has a 1, then he would have to play this 1. So now that we're ready to do our first move reveal, everything is simultaneous. So when you play in Tournament Joust, you will set your cards face down, and then you will flip them over simultaneously. So to see what the first move is, we flip them over. We have a 1 and a 2, so we would move our knights 1 space for the 1 and 2, because remember, this is distance and speed. Then we will look at our cards and see, do we have any bonuses based on what we played? If we both played 1, there'd be no bonus. But whenever you play a movement card that's higher than your opponent, you get a bonus to your impact, +1. Same with if you play a movement card that's higher than your previous card, you will also get a bonus to your impact. So per movement turn, you could get +2 to your impact, because you could lay, if I play a 3 on the next one, I'll get a +1. And if that 3 is higher than his, which he would have a 2, then I would also get a +1. So we add our bonuses, right? He doesn't get any bonus because he started with 1. And then we would have to go to moving our lance tip. So now we have our aim location, so we're going to move towards that location that we're trying to hit. But you can only move 1 hex adjacent to your starting hex. Now on the first turn, you don't worry about any random lance tip because we're just starting out. But every time you increase in speed, there is that jolt of speed that will cause you to temporarily lose control of your lance tip, and that's what will cause a random lance tip movement. So we've got, this is the first phase. So phase 1, we've finished everything. We're going to go into phase 2. We will put our second movement card. Now I want to go, I have a 2, I have 3 3s. So I'm going to go right to a 3. And then he has to do a 2. Because you can't go higher than just 1 above your previous move. So we've got our movement cards down. We flip them over simultaneously for this move turn 2. Now, he's got 2, I have a 3, so we will make our moves, right? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Now, He's made 1 higher than his previous, so he will get +1 to his impact. I get +1 because I have a higher one than that. And then my 3 is higher than a 2, so then I get another impact bonus. Then we will move our lance tip token. Now here's the problem. We both boosted our speed. So that means we will have to roll on this random lance tip movement chart because we've lost a little temporary control of our lance. So we roll, I roll a 5 and a 6. So we look on the chart, a 5 means, oh, went in my favor. Came down and left. A 6 is to the left. So also beneficial. If you roll a 1 or an 8, there's no movement. It's just based on 2 through 7 that will have a random move. So we kind of got lucky on that. We lucked out on that random lance tip movement. So we'll go into phase 3. And this will be your 3rd movement card. So now I can play a 3, right? I could play my 4 right now. But the problem is if I ever play a 4 and we don't make contact and I have to make another move and I have to play a lesser value card for my movement, it's very bad horsemanship. And that means you will get -2 to your impact and -2 to your stability. You do not want to do that. You want to progressively get up there and slowly increase and then make contact with the most impact that you can. So I will put another 3 and then there will be a bonus to having the same controlled speed. So we put our 3rd movement down, we would flip it over. And when you have the same speed, that will increase your stability. So we look at he's increased his speed again, so he will get +1 to impact. I, on the other hand, am maintaining my speed, so I get +1 to stability because I played the same speed card, horse movement card. We're both at 3, so there's no other bonus to impact. Then we would move our knights. So he would go 3, 1, 2, 3. And I would do 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're getting into the central zone. We're getting closer. It is possible that we could make contact on move 4, but we will always make contact on move 5. You just have to take the risk that you will make contact and not have to put a negative card or a lesser value card. So it's a very tight gamble because he could see you might be taking the gamble and he could play a lesser card himself, but you're both going to take a shot to it. But you would get the negative and you'd still make the contact. That's the problem. So we move our knights. We do our updates. Then we're going to move our lance tips again. Now I was aiming for the upper. So I'm going to go here. And he was aiming for the outer shield. So he's already in the outer shield right now. But the problem is he has to roll on the random movement chart. So, and I don't. So he will roll. Rolls a 5. That puts him back down. So that was tough for him. But I have the same, so I don't have to. As long as he maintains speed, I keep control of my lance. I don't have to roll on the random chart. So then we go into phase 4. But before we put our cards down, this is where the knight reaction card occurs. You have to determine it. If you're looking and you go, I think he's going for my shield, I will do a last minute reaction of, I think I will either lean left or I'll do a shield high and see if that changes. So when you play a knight reaction card, you play it on their side of the board. Just like he will play his. If he thinks I'm going for the helm, he might do a lean right. And he would put that on my side, right? And you keep these secret. So we've got our things down. Now we would put our 4th movement card. Now we're close. We're only 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 6 away from each other. 2 3s and we make contact. So I could put a 4 down and I could be safe. So we would more than likely hit. So I think I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to put a 4. And he has to do at least a 3 because I don't think he wants to take the negative. So he'll put a 3, right? And then we'll simultaneously flip him over. So now he gets a plus to his stability. I will get a plus to my impact. I will also get another plus because I'm a 4 over his 3. But it's going to hurt me because I'm going to have that random movement. So we'll do our move. And you move these simultaneous. 1, 2, and we make contact. So these contact lines, you'll see that there's a bonus on impact. So since my speed was higher than his and I had more force coming down the list, I'm going to get another plus to my impact. So I'm already at 6. I'm maxing. This is really good for me. But it won't do me any good if I don't get in the zone, if I don't hit the spot I'm aiming for. So we've made contact, we've moved, we've added our bonuses. He won't have to roll on the random chart, but we have to make our move. I'm on, right now, on the upper helm, which is what I want. He is now back in the outer shield, which is what he wants. He doesn't have to roll, because he's got the same. I do, because I increased. 5. And a 5 is down there. Now, one of the things you can do, since we made contact and this is the last move you're going to make, these cards will have effect on your lance tip location. But if your stability score is +3 or more, you can use 3 ability points, those stability points, to get a free movement. So it'll cost you 3 points, but you can, if you were off and you knew it were going to be a miss, you could spend 3 points and at least hit the location and hope at least of doing something based on what your impact score is, but you will at least get a point for making contact. So it won't get you an unhorsing, but it'll definitely get you ability to get some points. And points is what's very valuable in this game. So now we've made contact, so we won't even go to move 5. And the first thing we're going to do is flip over our night reaction cards. And we read those. So I'll read mine first. He did a lean right. So it says, the knight leans hard to the right in his saddle. I get a -1 to blue stability. So because he was making a hard adjustment, so it affected his control. Move lance tip to the right 1 hex. So we're going to go this way. So that's unfortunate for him, but it's still not over. It knocks him off the shield based on his reaction. And then how it affects me is move the red lance tip right 1 hex if aiming for the helm. I am aiming for the helm, so I will move my right. Now that's the night reaction card. Now mine, I did a high shield. So the knight raises his shield at the last second. -1 to the red player's impact, so I lose an impact. And then move the blue lance tip down, either left or right, if the knight is aiming for the shield. So that means he's probably going to move down here. So I'm forcing him off the shield. So my reaction definitely helped against where he was aiming. So we've done our night reactions. Now it's a matter of, did we hit our locations? So he was going for the outer shield. He just missed it. He doesn't have enough stability to make that free move. I don't have enough stability to put it in the helm, but I am on the helm. So that is good. If I was in the location, and if he was in the location, he would get +1 to either add to impact or stability. If I was on the upper helm, I would get +2 to either impact or stability, and I would put it on my stability. So that would really be pushing it where I have a good possibility of getting an unhorsing. But I didn't hit my spot, so I don't get that bonus. But I'm still on the helm. So anything could happen. I have a very high impact. Now we read, we've got our no bonuses. Now let's see, how is the reaction going to be, the results. And this is where we go into the lance tip contact results. So we come here, page 17. And it's all based on your aim location. So we'll do mine first. I was going for the upper helm. So I come in here, upper helm, 20. Since I'm in the helm, I'm still good. If I was down on the shield or off the head, off the helm, I would be a complete miss. But sometimes what happens is I could be aiming for the crest and I actually have a miss, but it comes down and it's on the helm. So that means I still have a possibility of doing something to that rider. But if you're off these 3 zones, nothing. It's just going to be a miss. So we will go into upper helm, right? I was aiming for the upper helm, so I go to 20, page 20. And what we do is we go for the actual strike zone. So we have this 1 and 2 on these hex zones for the upper helm and then the lower helm. I'm in the lower helm. So I would come down here and I'd be hex 2 right here. My location is a lower helm strike. Now it's all based on impact and stability score. So if my impact score is 4 or greater, which it is, and my stability score is 3 or greater, which it isn't, I could have gotten an unhorsing. I still could have had a hard enough hit to his helm to knock him off. Didn't get that. If my impact score is 3 or greater, which it is, and my stability score is 2 or greater, which I just missed, I would break a lance, and I would get 3 points for breaking that lance. Otherwise, since I still hit the helm, I still earn 1 point for striking the lance against the helm. So I would get 1 point. So I got a point off that. That was good. Now if we go to the opponent, he had the outer shield. Now the outer shield is 25. So he didn't hit the outer shield. So his is a complete miss. He's outside the range, no points, no chance for hitting anything else. One thing to worry about though is if you're so far out of range, you have these 2 spaces where if you hit the barrier, you can have negative points, or if you hit the horse, you could be disqualified from the tournament. Not only lose points, but be disqualified. And there's different ranges in the horse that either can injure or kill your opponent's horse. So you really got to be controlling on your lance tip and watch out where that thing starts to swerve or go off course. But since he was off the shield, it's not even a glancing blow. It's just a straight miss. So for that first run, we came into contact. We passed. I was able to get a nice glancing blow off his lower helm. He missed me completely, so I was able to get 1 point. Now we would start run 2. We'd reset our jousters, take up our cards, I'll take my reaction card, and he has his aim location cards, his reaction card, and my aim location card. And then what we would do is we would reset our stability and impact, but do not reset these 2. And then we would set this off the side because we're going to have a new starting location. So we finished that first run. I got a point off it. He didn't get any points. No one was knocked off their horse. Crest was knocked off. So we do our second run. And we would do the same thing. You would shuffle your movement cards, put the 2 and 3 down, shuffle them, deal 4, get your hands, set those aside, and then again, put an aim location card secretly, and then set up your movement. You'll go through your movement phases. When you get to move 4, you'll put your night reaction cards down, and then if you either hit on 4 or 5, you'll go through, see if you made a location hit, and then go through the charts to see what it is. And then you'll do that 3 times, and that will constitute a match. Again, if someone unhorses or knocks off a crest, they win that match immediately. Then you have your points. So if you win the match, you're really concerned about how many total points you have, because you have these maximum points that will decide on ties, because you could end a match and on the 3rd run, both people get unhorsed, right? So you unhorse each other. You have to go then, all right, who has the most points? If you have the same amount of points, then you would look at the broken lances. Do we have the same amount of broken lances? Whoever has the most broken lances would win. If you had the tie, then you would go to how many zones you actually hit to receive 1 point. So if I hit the crest and the helm, and he only hit the crest once, then I would win. based on having both unhorsing, both having the same amount of points, both having the same amount of broken lances, but I just happen to hit more of these locations more. And if you have that tied, then you just share the win. You have so many things that are so equal. You're both equal knights. You share the win. So there you have it. This is my game, Tournament Joust. That's kind of the run through of one pass of a joust. And on the next video, I will cover a full playthrough. And then as I'm playing through, I'll explain the rules as I'm doing things. But again, to win the game, it's based on knocking an opponent's crest off, unhorsing them, getting the most broken lances, and then again having the most points to decide who will be the winner. So I appreciate you watching my video. If you do think this game is for you, again, you can go and download it from Board Game Geek. It's free PDFs, and please rate it if you enjoyed it. If you have comments, please let me know. If you have comments about this video, please leave them in the comment section in the video. And if you like this content, go ahead and like it and subscribe, because there's a lot of different games that I do. I like to design games, and I'll put up videos about the games. And I always put my stuff on Board Game Geek. So you'll find a lot of games that I've created on Board Game Geek if you have different things, interests besides knights and chivalry and jousting. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.